Imagine that you control a drone. The drone looks at that reality where it is, sends me information, and I get the conscious experience of what the drone is seeing. That conscious experience is not in my body, it's in my consciousness.
A scientific theory that basically states that our body is operated like a drone from a conscious quantum field, which would mean that experience, qualia, is not in your head.
The qualia do not exist in the body, they exist in the field.
Okay, people will find this crazy idea.
All right, what's up, y'all? So, this episode is going to be on a super fascinating new topic that has I've just been geeking out over, and I'm going to break it down for y'all as simple as I can as someone who is not a quantum physicist. Basically, this new theory is merging biology and science with spirituality, right? And it's using quantum theory to potentially prove the existence of the soul, which is freaking cool. So the guy you were just watching is Frederico Fagan, unfortunate last name, but he is a physicist, and he had, as we're gonna look at in another video, he had this crazy experience, something sort of to a psychedelic out of body experience that was completely natural. I mean, as far as he says, he was not on drugs, and that he just woke up to this crazy experience one night, and he started formulating all of these new theories. And so I'm going to keep this as short as possible. I was actually talking about this with some Uber riders yesterday. They're all AI engineers. They were going to an AI conference here in DFW. It's a big industrial engineering conference to discuss AI and how to develop the hardware to make all of the functions of it more efficient, considering the massive magnitude of power demands that AI is going to have and having already. And so I was actually telling them about this theory, and they were so into it. They were super fascinated. And I thought, man, I should make a YouTube video on this because this is something that I'm personally super interested in. I stumbled upon this video that we just watched some of, and this is the overall theory that this guy is describing. It is the theory that the body is just experiencing and conveying through senses, but you're not actually your existence, your true being in essence is not here in the body. You're elsewhere, right? And so potentially like on another dimension, in a spiritual dimension, something of that nature, which kind of makes sense, you know? I mean, especially if you're Christian like me, there's a lot of indication that potentially we existed, God knew us before uh, we were created, we were brought into the world. And so, and obviously, I'm not a biblical scholar. Someone may correct me on all this stuff. I'm just spitballing, having fun with y'all. But I find this super fascinating that it's fun because in a lot of ways in modern day, science and technology are starting to catch up with a lot of the things that we as cultures and societies, especially from spiritual and religious aspects, have kind of been practicing all along. And these things are starting to line up in very unique and specific ways, like fasting. You know, in the Bible talks about fasting, and it doesn't necessarily go into the physical benefits of fasting, but we are called to fast. There are spiritual benefits to fasting. It's a way of giving up, honoring God. And it just so happens that science in the last several years has found all of these benefits, scientific and health benefits to fasting. Cellular autophagy. It's great for anti-cancer. Obviously, it's great for losing weight. The body, if you're always eating, it's always all the energy and resources are constantly diverted towards digesting all of that food. We're not really designed to just be eating all the time. Our ancestors would go through famine, right? And the body gets an opportunity to focus inward and kind of do this cellular cleanup, get rid of zombie cells and cellular autophagy. It's been linked to, fixing tons of health issues and longevity. There's tons of benefits. So, that's one example where things in the Bible, cultural, religious, spiritual things, can sometimes line up with current science as our knowledge improves and grows and we start to understand things at a more logical, rational, earthly level. It's funny when I always find these very fascinating when these things line up, right? And so fasting is one of those examples. This is another really interesting, this is obviously a very unique theory that is basically potentially explaining the existence of the soul through quantum theory. And so he doesn't go into all of the details. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on it, because there's a theory in the quantum theories that I think does a good job of explaining how this might happen. And I'm going to play this quick video, this quick short, to let you explain or understand this, to just get you the gist, okay? It's called quantum entanglement.
Entanglement, this idea of what Einstein called spooky action at a distance. The idea is that if you have 2 quantum mechanical objects that are correlated to one another, their behavior is coupled, and no matter how far you move them apart, that coupling stays intact. I believe entanglement works because I know the math predicts entanglement. Even though I don't like the idea that if I take a pair of electrons that are correlated, I stick one on my campus at Harvard and I put the other one on the tip of Saturn, if I manipulate the one at Harvard, the one in Saturn knows, then the question becomes, well, can you get any real value out of that? What's an application? And the application really is the quantum internet. Now, it's not that you're going to be able to do anything super fast or you're going to be able to do anything super efficient. The reality is that if you create a quantum network where the individual repeater stations are coupled together via entanglement, you can always tell if somebody spied on you. Entanglement.
Okay, so that's quantum entanglement. And I think that's relevant to know and have at least some kind of understanding of when it comes to this other theory about the soul and how this quantum theory could potentially explain the existence of the soul, right? So, if you're thinking of, and I think this goes even a step further, right? Because in that quantum entanglement, we're in this dimension, we're in this universe, right? So one of the molecules is here on Earth, the other one was on Saturn, right? And I think this can have a lot of really cool sci-fi, fascinating ideas. One of the first thing I think of is actually, space travel. To be able to, if you're able to somehow utilize and harness this entanglement factor, right? You find the entanglement of something here on Earth to potentially like another planet light years away, right? And so somehow maybe there's going to be in the future this understanding, this quantum theory can grow towards space travel, time travel, and bridge these gaps that are right now, even at light speed, too far to explore. And so quantum entanglement has just so much potential. And obviously this is a theory. There's some people who do and don't believe it. And then obviously the same goes true for this experience of the soul, right? In this short, when he's showing, right, like these 2 particular points or molecules or whatever they are that are entangled with one another, that correlate with each other, it doesn't matter where they are or how far apart they are, they affect one another, right? So you could think of one being the body and the other being the soul, using this quantum entanglement theory of how the body is feeding all the sensory input to this spiritual version of you, like your spiritual core, your soul, right? So fascinating. Like I'm blown away. So I'm going to show you this quick start off of this other interview where I think he's kind of explaining the experience he had, and then we'll wrap it up because I'm going to keep this one as short as I possibly can.
When we study physics, we must go beyond the self-imposed limits of what a discipline can call reality. That changes everything. I'm a physicist, and therefore I study how physical reality works with a sense that that's all there is. I was also expecting if I did everything right, I should be happy. But I was not happy. One night I wake up, and all of a sudden, out of my chest, this beam of energy is coming from me. The essence of what I thought that I am changed from this way to that way. I decided that's what I want to do for the rest of my life, unite physics and spirituality. If you look at yourself, what is the deepest longing that you have? The deepest longing that I have myself is to know myself, to know why am I here? What is this universe for? To know. Consciousness is the capacity of one to know itself. And it is in this one wants to know itself that there is the joining of physics and spirituality. Let me explain.
So he's obviously on this self-enlightened journey of knowing oneself, and this is the experience that I think sparked this theory of his. And I don't know that it's his original theory. It seems that as I've done some research, other people have potentially had this idea as well, but this is how I first came across this, and I find it very fascinating. And I think this is a very humbling, calm man who I think does a great job. And in this interview, he does like a lot of really interesting, actually it's this other one, he gives a lot of theories. There's one I don't know if I agree with, where he believes in the let's see if I can find it. Yeah, so it's biology versus computers, and they talk about AI at one point. I don't know if it's this one or the other one, but basically his gist is he also has one theory that, intelligence can't create anything more intelligent than itself. So he doesn't think we're going to get to this like insane, hyper intelligent AI, super intelligent AI. Man, I don't know if I agree with that. It is a very interesting concept and theory, though, that like, hey, intelligence can't create anything more intelligent than itself. That's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother episode. But for this episode, I just wanted to put you on this guy, this Frederico guy, and kind of just give you the gist of this cool little theory, because I think a lot of people will get a lot of interest and fascination out of this. And I just find it so fascinating to have the potential that quantum physics and quantum theory could potentially lead to the discovery or proving the existence of a soul, as someone who is, a follower of Christ, spiritual. I think that's so cool. And I find it always so really interesting when, as someone who, I'm just not some genius, but I try to stay up to date. I try to, pride myself on being, a reasonably intellectual person. And when I come across something that really piques my interest, that, gets the gears of my brain spinning, this was one of those things. And I wanted to share that with y'all because I thought you might find this really interesting, really fascinating, and could go do your own research on it. But just the idea that we're existing on another plane somewhere else, and the body is a receptacle feeding sensory information to the soul. That is so cool. I like melted the brains of these engineers I was driving yesterday, and thought it was really cool. Just a really fun conversation, So I really like this topic. I'm going to continue to explore this, but this episode was really just to kind of like put you on this, right? Like, hey, did you know that there's a quantum theory exploring the existence of the human soul? And these, I don't have time. Both these episodes are, I think, over an hour long. This one's 2 hours long. You can YouTube this guy. Here's his name. He's a physicist. Check it out, man. Science and spirituality merging. Super fascinating. Super duper 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 fascinating. And I struggle to connect with people sometimes on these topics, right? Like my mom is always laughing at my mom and stepdad are always laughing at me because, it's like, yeah, Colin's going to be on like a first date and like, hey, do you want to talk about the, this new quantum theory about the existence of the soul and how quantum theory and quantum entanglement could in the future prove the existence of the soul? And, my date's just like, what are you talking about? Like, you freaking crazy person. And so I guess, I'm hoping that the internet can be this window to connecting with other people on these topics that interest me and getting those real connections and growing and building those connections. And, this is something that I found really fascinating. It melted my brain a little bit, and I've molded over quite a bit. I'm not going to go into like super big detail on it. I think that that's better suited for someone like this guy who is a physicist. And obviously, full disclosure, there's a lot of physicists and people who do not agree with this guy at all, not even a little bit. This is not like a mainstream theory. from my understanding. But it's a fascinating one nonetheless. So yeah, that's the episode. I was like, hey man, did you know that there's this new quantum theory that could potentially in the future prove the existence of the soul? And I think this guy's articulation of this theory is so fascinating. I highly recommend you check out these two YouTubers and their episodes. This is Andre, I'm not going to butcher his last name. There it is. And then this other episode, Essential Foundation. Both of these episodes were so good. I watched both of them. You know, I've listened to Brian Cox before, like on Joe Rogan. I think he does a great job of quantum physics as well and physics in general. I'm going to continue exploring some of these topics and sharing them with you. And just like, you know, my goal is to kind of bring awareness. Like, hey, did you know? Like, I think this is really interesting. Did you know about this? Do you think it's really cool? Like, where could this lead us? I mean, quantum theory from quantum computing to potentially like space travel. There are so many potential possibilities when it comes to the science of quantum theory and quantum physics. It's vast and endless, and it could all be bullshit, or it could be like what leaps us forward in multiple avenues when it comes to modern technology and science, space and human exploration of the soul, of the universe. I mean, wow. I mean, there's something poetic about that, right? That this one particular field of science could lead us not only towards assistance of exploration of the universe itself, of the known universe, the physical reality we're experiencing, but of our spiritual selves, a deeper understanding of who we are and why we're so different than all the other animals on planet Earth, and why we have there's this cultural, spiritual desire that goes back to almost every society that's ever existed, right? And why religion seems to come up again and again. And this goal for self-enlightenment, self-exploration, understanding oneself. I love that stuff, man. I love that stuff. So yeah, that's today's episode. The quantum theory that could prove the existence of the human soul. If you found this cool, hey, shoot me a like, please subscribe. And yeah, I'm going to keep putting out some content. I hope y'all find this as fascinating as me. Feel free to go check these guys out, man. I mean, do some YouTube. If you just YouTube like Quantum Soul, you don't get as much. You kind of got to start going a little deeper and knowing who to look for. And so I wanted to put y'all on this. This is a quantum physicist or a physicist that I think you should check out. Watch some of these videos and do your own work, do your own studies. And if you know anything about this, I'd love to be informed more. Drop a comment below. If I got something wrong, totally could happen. I'm not perfect by any means. So yeah, there you have it. That's today's episode. Did you know about this quantum theory that could prove the existence of the human soul? So freaking cool. All right, well, I've geeked out enough with y'all today. I hope you have a good one. Have a good rest of your week, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.